Let me tell you something they've been keeping from you. The world taught you that being selfless is the standard, that good women give endlessly, that prioritizing yourself is somehow proof of bad character. And if you're reading this feeling drained, stuck, or like you're living someone else's version of your life, that belief is why. Here's what nobody warns you about. The world doesn't reward women who deplete themselves. It just takes more. And the people benefiting from your exhaustion, they're not losing sleep over whether you're okay. So if you've spent years being the dependable one, the one who never draws a line, the one who bends until she breaks, this is the conversation that changes that. Hey, it's Emma, and today we're talking about why choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. It's strategy. And it might be the most honest, powerful thing you ever do. You've been trained since childhood to be accommodating, to not make waves, to smile when you're uncomfortable, to agree when you don't, to say yes even when everything in you is screaming no. They called it being polite, being mature, being a good girl. But what it actually taught you was that everyone else's comfort matters more than your own integrity. I want you to think about how many times you've agreed to something you didn't want just to avoid conflict. How many times you swallowed what you really felt just to keep things smooth. You think you're being kind. But what's actually happening is that you're betraying yourself repeatedly, and then wondering why you feel so disconnected from your own life. I lived this for years. I was the girl who understood everything, who forgave too quickly, who went out of her way for people who would never do the same. And I told myself it made me a good person, that eventually people would see my value and treat me accordingly. They didn't. Because here's the reality nobody tells you: you cannot earn real love by abandoning yourself. You cannot build genuine respect on a foundation of self-neglect. What you build instead is a reputation for being easy to overlook. At some point, you have to understand that protecting your energy isn't optional. It's not selfish. It's the baseline requirement for a life that actually belongs to you. And nobody is going to do that work for you. Not your partner, not your friends, not your family. That responsibility is yours. And when you finally start exercising it, when you start saying no, when you start honoring your own needs without apology, some people are going to be uncomfortable. They'll say you've changed, that you only care about yourself now. Good. That means the boundaries are working. The kind of selfishness I'm talking about isn't cruelty. It's not about stepping on people or operating without care. It's about choosing yourself in a world that profits every single day off women who won't. You don't owe anyone access to a version of you that costs you your peace. And the most powerful word in your vocabulary right now is no. No, I'm not doing that. No, that doesn't work for me. No, I don't have the capacity. You're not cruel for saying it. You're clear. And clarity is what separates women who thrive from women who just survive. So start choosing yourself, not out of anger, out of self-respect. Now let's talk about the good girl myth, because this is the trap most of us walked into without realizing it was even there. You know the story. Be quiet, be polite, don't take up too much space, don't ask for too much, smile even when you're hurting. We were rewarded as children for being agreeable, not for being honest, for suppressing emotion, not for expressing it. We learned early that being easy to manage made us valuable, and we carried that conditioning straight into adulthood without ever questioning it. I did. I was the chill girl, the low-maintenance one, the one who didn't ask for much, who never complained, who always gave people the benefit of the doubt long past the point they deserved it. I genuinely believed that being easy to love would make me more lovable, that if I just stayed soft enough, flexible enough, understanding enough, I'd be chosen. What actually happened was that I got taken for granted, used, overlooked, and then I blamed myself for it. Because when you've been raised to believe that being good equals being worthy, the second someone treats you poorly, you assume it's because you weren't good enough. Maybe I should have been more patient. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I wasn't enough. No, the problem was never me. The problem was the role I kept trying to perform. The good girl is not real. She's a character. A script written to keep other people comfortable at the expense of your voice, your needs, your power. And every single time you shrink to preserve someone else's peace, you're sending yourself a message that you don't matter, that your truth is inconvenient, that your boundaries make you difficult. But let me ask you, what has being the good girl actually gotten you? Has it protected your heart, brought you closer to the life you want? Or are you just exhausted, resentful, and living in an identity that was never actually yours? Because that's where I ended up. I didn't even recognize myself anymore. I had become so consumed with being liked that I forgot how to be real. And unlearning that, choosing to stop being convenient, that's hard. Because the moment you start taking up space, saying no, standing firm, they're going to call you selfish. They're going to guilt you. Let them. Because what they loved wasn't you. It was your silence, your compliance, your willingness to disappear so they could stay comfortable. You don't need that kind of love. You need the kind that sees you fully and doesn't require you to erase yourself to keep it. You're not here to be the good girl. You're here to be whole, complicated, loud when you need to be, emotional, powerful. The woman who knows what she wants and isn't afraid to disappoint people if staying silent means disappointing herself. That's not selfish. That's freedom. And the sooner you stop performing for approval, the sooner you start living a life that's actually yours. Here's the part that might hurt a little, but I'm saying it because I wish someone had told me sooner. If you don't actively choose yourself, if you don't practice healthy selfishness, you will wake up one day in a life that doesn't even feel like yours. I'm not talking about feeling a little lost. I'm talking about waking up years from now in a relationship you settled for, in a career that drains you, in a city you never wanted to live in, surrounded by people who don't actually see you, and asking yourself, how did I end up here? I'll tell you how. By saying yes when you meant no. By following the path people expected instead of the one you wanted. By prioritizing what was safe over what was true. And the worst part? You don't even notice it happening. It's gradual. You take the major your parents approved of because they said your passion wouldn't pay. You stay in the relationship because everyone says he's a good guy and you'd be stupid to leave. You take the job, say yes to the event, move to the city, follow the blueprint someone else designed, and by the time you stop to breathe, you've disappeared. Your voice is buried under everyone else's opinions. And the cost of that? Your entire life. Because you only get one. One chance to be who you actually are. And choosing yourself, really choosing yourself, might disappoint people. It might confuse your friends, frustrate your family, break a few hearts including your own. But here's what it won't do. It won't leave you bitter. It won't leave you trapped. It won't leave you at 50 looking back asking, who could I have been if I had just chosen me? So be selfish. Be selfish enough to leave the job that's killing you. Be selfish enough to end the relationship that limits you. Be selfish enough to chase the dream nobody else understands but you. Because if you don't grab the pen and write your own story, someone else will write it for you. And you'll end up a side character in your own life. You were born to be the main character. So take the risk. Make the move. Disappoint who you need to disappoint. Just don't let it be yourself. You cannot be authentic without being selfish. Period. I know that word still carries weight. We've been conditioned to hear selfish and think arrogant, cold, self-absorbed, but I need you to start seeing it for what it actually is. An act of self-ownership. A declaration that says, I choose me. Because you can't live an aligned, truthful life if you're constantly filtering yourself through what other people want, expect, or approve of. If every decision you make has to pass through someone else's comfort meter first, you're not being authentic. You're performing. And performing is exhausting. I've done it. I've laughed at jokes that made me uncomfortable. I've agreed with opinions I didn't hold. I've played cool when I was hurt just to not seem like too much. And every time I did that, even if I convinced the world I was fine, I knew I was faking it. And faking it erodes you. It chips away at your confidence. It builds resentment. It disconnects you from your intuition, from your real voice, from what you actually feel and want. Being selfish isn't about ignoring people. It's about not ignoring yourself. Because people will try to define you. They'll tell you how you should be, what's appropriate, what's attractive, what's acceptable. And if you're not anchored in yourself, if you don't have that selfish core that says, no, this is who I am and I'm not shrinking to be digestible, you will morph into whatever version of yourself they prefer. And that version will never feel like home. Real authenticity requires boundaries. It requires clarity. And yes, it requires selfishness. It requires you to say, I don't care if you don't like it. This is what I believe. This is what I need. This is who I am. That's not ego. That's wholeness. That's the version of you who doesn't apologize for existing. So be selfish enough to be misunderstood, to be complicated, but at least to be true. Because if your authenticity depends on other people's approval, it's not real. It's borrowed. And one day you'll wake up and realize you don't even know who you are without their voices in your head. That's not living. That's survival in a costume. So take it off. You don't owe the world a watered-down version of yourself. You owe yourself the truth. Let's talk about something we waste constantly without even noticing. Time. Not the kind of waste where you scroll too long. I'm talking about the emotional hours. The mental energy, the precious pieces of your life you spend doing things you don't want to do for people who wouldn't do the same for you. All because you're afraid of looking selfish. Here's what hit me hard one day. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that does. You're saying no to your rest, to your growth, to your peace, to your goals. You think it's just one favor, one coffee, one extra task, but it adds up. And the people taking that time from you, most of them don't even notice, because they're not the ones paying the price. You are. I remember being in a season where I was constantly overcommitted, always doing things for other people, always available, always bending. I thought I was being helpful, but inside, I was furious, exhausted, falling behind on everything that actually mattered to me, because being overly available is a form of self-abandonment, and nobody claps for the girl who's always drained. There's no award for being the most selfless. People will just keep taking as long as you keep offering. And that's when it clicked. If I don't start being selfish with my time, I'll keep living a life that isn't mine. Your time is your most sacred resource. You can recover money, you can recover energy. But time? That's one direction only. So if you spend it on people who drain you, situations that stunt you, obligations that don't align with you, you're robbing your future self. Real selfishness is putting your calendar in your own hands. It's learning to say, no, I can't. I need this day for me. No, I'm not available. No, I just don't want to. And that last one? That's reason enough. You don't need a perfect excuse. I need rest is enough. It doesn't align with me as enough. I said I'd focus on myself this year is enough. You're not a machine. You're not a customer service line. You don't owe everyone access to you around the clock. Being selfish with your time is being wise with your life. So protect your hours like they're gold. Because they are. And when you stop giving them away to every request, every obligation, every fake emergency, you'll be shocked how much of yourself comes back. Your creativity, your peace, your joy, your purpose. Selfish? Maybe. But it's the kind of selfish that saves you. You can't be truly generous unless you're a little selfish first. I know that sounds backwards, but hear me out. Because giving and giving and giving until there's nothing left of you, that's not kindness. That's self-neglect dressed up as virtue. I used to pride myself on being reliable, the one who always showed up. I would drop everything the moment someone needed me. Didn't matter if I was exhausted or had plans. If someone needed me, I was there. Because I thought that's what it meant to be a good person. But over time, I started to feel bitter, resentful, used, and then guilty for feeling that way, because I was helping, right? Here's the truth I had to face. When your cup is empty, your love becomes heavy. Your help becomes a burden. Your energy becomes transactional. That's not real giving, that's leaking. Real giving, the kind that feels good, clean, free, that comes from overflow. And to have overflow, you have to protect your energy. You have to say no sometimes. You have to rest. You have to ask yourself, what do I need right now? You have to put yourself at the top of your own priority list. And yeah, that looks selfish to people who are used to you draining yourself for them. But that's not your problem. Because the more you take care of yourself, the more powerful your presence becomes when you do show up. You're calm, focused, not resentful, not scattered, not dying inside while pretending to be okay. You can't sustain altruism without egoism. It turns you into a martyr, and you weren't born to die for people, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. You were born to live and love from a place of truth. So no, you don't have to choose between being a good person and taking care of yourself. You can be both. But the second one has to come first. Selfishness isn't the enemy of generosity. It's the foundation of it. So protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. And when you give from power, not from pressure. When you finally start being selfish, when you start choosing yourself, certain people will disappear. And I need you to know that's not a loss. That's a filter. Because when you stop overgiving, when you stop bending, when you stop abandoning yourself to keep other people comfortable, you suddenly see who was really there for you and who was just there for what you gave them. Some of the relationships you thought were solid, they were built on your overpresence. You carried them. You showed up every time. You made the effort, started the conversation, planned the hangout, held the emotional weight. And once you stop doing that, the dynamic shifts. Now here's the important part. Not all of those relationships will disappear. Some will shift. And that's powerful. Because sometimes the imbalance wasn't about the other person being toxic. It was about the roles you both fell into. You gave too much. They got used to it. When you change, the relationship has to either evolve or end. Some people will meet you at this new level. They'll adjust. They'll grow with you. They'll respect the boundaries even if it takes time. Those people, keep them. They're showing you they love you, not your overperforming, overgiving, overavailable version, but the ones who make you feel guilty for finally choosing yourself, who say you've changed in a bad way, who punish your growth. Let those ones go, because being selfish is like turning the lights on in a dark room. You see who stays because they love you, and who stayed because you were easy to lean on, easy to control, easy to drain. So yes, relationships will shift when you stop people-pleasing. Some will break, some will transform, but you will finally breathe. And that space you clear out, that's not emptiness, that's capacity. That's room for better, deeper, reciprocal love. Stop fearing the fallout. The people who matter will adapt. The people who don't will remove themselves. So yeah, be selfish. Not in the reckless, careless, I don't give a damn kind of way, but in the real, healing, I finally see my own worth kind of way. Because if you don't protect your peace, your time, your voice, no one else will. You can't keep living for everyone else and calling it love. You can't keep shrinking and calling it kindness. You owe yourself more than that. So here's what I want you to do. Pause. Check in with yourself. Ask, where have I been abandoning myself just to be accepted? Then take one selfish step today. Say no to something. Speak up. Protect your time. Choose you, even if it's uncomfortable. And if this video gave you permission to do that, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one way you're choosing yourself this week? Because this isn't just a conversation, it's a shift. And it starts with one choice, your choice. I'm Emma,